Hello and thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, Banksy Unmasked. Scientists use maths and criminology to map the artist's identity. It's the first feature film to be animated by paintings. We're loving Vincent, the new movie made entirely of oilworks. And Brits show off in Paris. Designers Stella McCartney and Vivienne Westwood bring their latest collections to the French capital's catwalks for Paris Fashion Week. Thanks for joining us. He's the guerrilla artist whose work sells for millions to celebrities like Brad and Angelina. For years, the identity of the man we know as Banksy has been a closely guarded secret. Until perhaps now. Scientists have used a combination of maths, criminology and geographic profiling to work out who he is, as Sanam Shantiai reports.
His art, a deadly political message. His buyers, art lovers with deep pockets. And his identity, a closely guarded secret until recently. This is the latest work of Banksy, a mural outside the French embassy in London, which attacks the use of tear gas on refugees in the Calais jungle. For over 2 decades, the face of the street artist has been a mystery, but now, thanks to a combination of criminology and geographic profiling, researcher Steve Lacombe may have forced the celebrity graffitist out of the shadows by tracking his movements.
So in all of these cases, in biology, in crime, and in disease biology, we're going to stick to places nearer home rather than further away, and we're going to stick to places we're familiar with. So our homes, our workplaces, family members' homes. We're not good at randomness, and broadly speaking, we're lazy.
So how was Banksy unmasked? The study located 140 of his works in London and Bristol and deducted that those sites are linked to one prominent candidate, Robin Gunningham. And this isn't the first time we're hearing this name. Gunningham was the subject of a probe by Britain's Daily Mail in 2008 that claimed to have exposed Banksy. Today, art critics are wondering if the latest revelations will impact the value of his work.
In a way, the thing about Banksy is we really don't know how good an artist he is because it's all bound up with the whole package. It would be really interesting, now he's exposed, to find out if he actually does things slightly differently.
Meanwhile, the speculations remain unconfirmed by Banksy and his team. So for the time being, we'll have to settle for these images of the artist as ever hidden from the world's eyes.
Next, Loving Vincent is not your average biopic. The movie, which tells the story of Vincent Van Gogh's life and death through his work, is said to be the first animated feature film ever to use oil paintings for all of its frames. It took more than 100 artists 2 years to complete. Mark Thompson reports now.
One-dimensional paintings brought to life. From the trains passing through the countryside and over rivers, to being taken on a stroll through a city in the 1880s. All these sequences have been painstakingly painted by hand. 12 individual oil paintings per frame, 56,000 in total, all in the style of Vincent van Gogh.
We're bringing back voices from the past. We're reincarnating them in the Van Gogh style, using the tools we have in the present day.
The creators of the film Loving Vincent explore the artist's life and death through hundreds of his own personal letters and 120 of his paintings. Those who wrote Van Gogh and the characters mentioned in the correspondence have been fleshed out to help retell his life story.
He was happy here. He was.
Everybody rejected him.
They tell the story of a man living a tormented life. For fans of the artist, it's an opportunity to experience Van Gogh's work like never before.
It's been done pretty well. There are some inconsistencies, but that's okay, because I think that at least for young people, it's an opportunity to find out more about the painter, to make them go to museums and see Van Gogh's real paintings in the flesh.
Van Gogh died in controversial circumstances in the outskirts of Paris on the 29th of July, 1890. While questions remain over whether he committed suicide or was killed, loving Vincent paints a picture of the life he left behind.
It looks utterly exquisite. Well, now to a Lebanese press photographer who found his way to Paris's celebrity world and got up close and personal with stars like Sophie Loren and Karl Lagerfeld. Tony Hage's work is showing at the Maison Européenne de la Photographie in Paris until the end of March. He gave us a quick tour of the exhibition.
This is a photo from the end of a big party in Cannes. I was waiting by the exit and I saw her get into a car. I ran over. She didn't close her window. She didn't tell the driver to speed off. She let me take these two photos. He was out with a hat and I thought, good, he could take it off at any moment. I was very lucky because he removed it at just the right time. The characters in these photos weren't always necessarily aware that there was a photographer around. These days, you can't document these events or big parties with the same freedom as you could before. And I think that's a shame. If you want to cover an event, you have to do it behind a barrier. There are these hideous panels behind the celebrities, and that's where you have to take your photos from. What's been sacrificed is freedom of expression.
Events are taking place around the world to celebrate International Women's Day. Here in Paris, 2 exhibitions celebrating strong women kick off this week. One is at the Shoah Memorial and is called Women in the Resistance, focusing on the women in the Second World War. It's on until September. The other is on at the city's town hall. It's a collection of portraits of modern women who are today making a difference in the world. And you can see that show until the 9th of April. It's Paris Fashion Week now, and Vivienne Westwood busted gender stereotypes at her latest show. The British designer, whose style was forged in the flames of punk, has always shown unisex collections, but male models in platforms and rocking dresses were particularly in abundance this time. Westwood said couples sharing a wardrobe was green, twice the choice for half the environmental impact. It's also the first collection to give her husband and design partner top billing.
He's so passionate about fashion that over the years, he's just really taken over. I've had to follow him, and he calls me his muse, but obviously I'm interfering and doing a few things as well. But, and I just thought it's time that the public understood the truth of it. I think he's the greatest designer in the world. I think he's so talented.
I like men in dresses. I like men... Of course, the heels and things, it's very something playful, but, you know, why not them up on a pedestal, you know? Why is it just women who are allowed to go up into the sky?
Next to another British designer who's rumoured to be starting a menswear label, Stella McCartney's Paris Women's Show was a bit of a best-of her previous collections. We saw bomber jackets and pleats. The show is always a star-studded affair, and this was no exception with the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Anna Wintour, and the designer's famous father, Paul McCartney.
When she started out, people said, it's just a famous name. But I said, yeah, but she's got to prove herself. And she has. I think this collection was very young, beautiful, witty, and wearable. Yeah?
What would you have worn if you had to wear?
What would I have worn in that? I think I would have looked good in the long blue velvet.
You know, I started by looking at sort of almost the history of women, you know, and that idea of glamour and dismantling it and making it modern.
And we're going to play out with some awesome 80s action from the Yves Saint Laurent fashion show. Designer Hedi Slimani's new collection for next winter speaks for itself. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.